Yeah, I think I tried really to give each character some sort of symbolism of part of this society, which is the Palestinian society living today in Israel, and their daily conflicts, but in within a political conflict, which is an identity of what it is to be a Palestinian today in Israel, part of a war that doesn't belong to them, and at the same time, people that are trying to kind of like go through their daily life, but in within fights maybe between them and themselves about what they want to be, and at the same time between them and other members of the family of what how they want to impose themselves on the others. So it's really like I would say it's a symbol of a whole nation that I knew, grew up with, a whole society that I had to deal with, and the differences of each in this society in in a big in a big way. Yes and no. Yes and no, in the sense that I think every character in the movie, for me, is part of my life, but at the same time, is not a person in my life. It's just like almost a gathering of few elements of people that I knew, that I made them a one character. And if I take Hajar, for example, the youngest daughter of the family, for me, she is part of me, but she's not me. Her path is not mine. Her journey is not really mine. The father could be partially my father, but he's not my father. I had not brothers and like brothers older than me that would just like influence or try to control my life. But I knew that I knew people of that sort where friends of mine, young friends of mine, had to go through that. So that's why the big brother, for example, became a big brother, but he's representative of few big brothers of certain families that I had to deal with. You know, like while I was writing the script, I tried to kind of place this family in a context, which is something that I couldn't neglect because it was forcing itself on me. Uh, because of a Palestinian society today in Israel does not mean only living your life. It means living your life within a context. And for me, at one stage, thinking about this and how to place these people in a context, I really had these pulses almost of old memories of these sounds, of the sound of the war, which represent for me a conflict, which represent for me a daily life in almost in a war that does not belong to me. And being a kid that grew up in these wars in a way is something that really kind of kept almost haunting me at one stage where I just decided that this is it. Maybe this is where I should go for. And in the beginning, I placed it in a real war, like a war really that with politicians talking from each side. And then I said, oh, this is taking me to something that is almost anecdotic, and I wanted to kind of like keep this atmosphere to be something that almost a creativity of the human being in within a sort of memory that he's been through. And because I did grew up uh, in that sound almost. So it just like really at one stage imposed itself on the script, and I went for it. Now the concept of it, of how to make it, while I was shooting, I really didn't know if I will succeed, if I won't succeed, if it will work, if it will not, well, it wouldn't work. And then with my sound designer, I think we really kind of worked very hard to get that to work in the movie. And then in the mixing and mixing the levels, I think at one stage it became to be much more present than other moments, and depending as well on how the dramatic build up of each scene and in each conflict and the whole, you know, like build up arc of the whole drama of the movie would go with that sound. Hafsiya came to my mind very early during the writing because she's someone that I acted with, so I knew. And for me, it was a very hard choice because she did not speak Arabic and she did not speak English. So it means I really knew that I had like triple work with her where I would have to prepare her for the part. So we did the necessary coaching with the production to help her with both languages. And the choice of Hafsiya was because for me it was very important to take someone who's almost exterior to this family because her difference had to impose itself on people, on her own family, and on the spectator watching the movie. And as I said, very early in an early stage of the writing, for me it was her and nobody else. But then I had the choice as well to go and look for maybe an actress from there that controlled both languages where I wouldn't have any trouble of that. But knowing that an actress from there would knew already all the codes of the society would maybe bring me to something more, earthy that I didn't want. I just like kind of always imagined Hafsiya being the character that would be almost imposed in that way where she's just like something from somewhere else. And all she's trying to do is basically live her simple life with her difference and imposing that on her family. It was more right to me that it's someone who looked like Hafsiya, behaved like Hafsiya, than a woman that would be maybe from there and would start imposing her, fighting knowledge of fighting a society or fighting a father or fighting. So I thought like her exterior side to the story would add something that I really was looking for. No, because again, it was something that I always kind of like imagined and dreamt of, where the title of the movie would come from the earth itself, from the mountains themselves. As I said, like in the press kit, for me, this story started with the mountains of Galilee that I really feel part of. I even get emotional when I'm talking about this, and leaving the story by leaving everybody almost buried in these mountains. The title could be only right if it's written over the mountains. Because it's a beautiful. I mean, when they brought posters to me to put really on the set in the different like sets that I had to shoot in my art department, I chose things that go with characters. But because it was Hafsiya's room, Hajar's room, it had to be different, and it had to be from somewhere else, something that had to go with the character. So I think an artist, or a woman that is trying to be an artist, would be connected to images that I thought at that moment when I saw the poster, it was like almost evident for me that this is what she would put on her door. And I thought like the moment when the cousin opens that door or the sister, and we always have this face, their face with the face on the poster, it just like linked so much their differences with her state of mind.